Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be here tonight and to share my steampunk craft with you. This is a good 10-minute craft at least, and I was explaining to Andrea that it's definitely not a warm-up craft. Now for those of you who were here last week, you probably saw the long list of requests that I had to be incorporated into this craft. Now, we had people asking for something that was a snowflake and had washers and was steampunk. I don't know if Andrea has a slide to put up while I switch over to my craft cam, because I don't get to do it like in a fancy like stealth way. You switch over to the craft cam, and I'm going to keep talking a bit about how I made this, how it came to be, because as she said, I did it in like 15 hours. Like I was working while you guys were demanding. So hang on just a second and I will switch on over. And I've been really bad at setting up my camera lately. See, like, that's not good. There, that's marginally better. Okay, there is the work surface. So, last week, some of you gave me requests as to what you wanted to see in the ornaments, which is here. So this is our ornaments. Now, I knew that we needed to use washers, so I took out a few washers, and then I had to figure out how I was going to make this look like a snowflake. So there's a few things that when I'm working with steampunk that I always like working with. When I'm working with metal, I love working with alcohol ink to tint my metal. And I also like working with chipboard or grunge board because it's easy to alter and to turn into what you want. Now, I don't necessarily think that I'm quote-unquote a steampunk artist. While I'm talking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 4 larger washers and I'm going to tint them gold with some alcohol ink. So, as I was saying, I don't necessarily think that I'm a quote-unquote steampunk artist. I've always been a very messy person by nature. So what I'm doing here is I have an alcohol ink applicator and I'm just going to go and apply some of this gold ink to the metal. So, as I was saying, I've always been sort of a messy crafter by nature. When all that clean and simple stuff was very popular, I kind of felt like a fish out of water because I don't do well with straight lines and clean edges, and you know, the more leeway I have in a project, the better. And I don't know if this is, you know, leftover traumatization from when I was in design school and everything had to be perfect, but it's just sort of the way that I work. I like having room to mess up because sometimes mess ups are good. So if you want to say that a lot of my work is steampunky, then we can definitely argue that. I just like having room to work with different mediums, and so I guess that's what steampunk is to me. It's just having the freedom to make a mess and tell everyone that it looks good. So yeah, so what I have here are my 4 washers, and then I sat here and I said, how am I going to make, because I only had 4 of this size left, and I said, how am I going to make this look like a snowflake? So I decided I wanted to sort of set them up in a shape like this, okay? And basically like that. So what I've done is I've gone and I've taken some crafting wire here. It's the 22 gauge, which is also the one that was in my kit, my bracelet kit. And basically all I did was I took 2 washers and just with the wire I wrapped them together. Until it felt pretty solid. Like that. And then with some wire cutters, you just snip that like that. I'm going to move this glue gun before I seriously burn myself. Okay, so we have 2 here like that, and then we'll do the next 2. So I explained what steampunk means to me. I'm kind of curious to see what some of you interpret steampunk as. Steampunk is modern. Interesting. It's funny you should say that. Right. I think most people, so there's my 2 pieces like that. So yeah, I think most people when they think steampunk, now I think the term steampunk, maybe someone could like Wikipedia it, but I think it's a term that came around that was in reference to steam engine trains. Is that right? Or am I just making stuff up here? Yeah, well. So yeah, it's something that refers to the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so I'm almost done the tedious part, and then we'll decorate. I just have 1 more to wrap. Like this. So I think when most people think steampunk, they do think clock pieces and stuff like that. What a lot of people are doing is they're just taking apart old, I know this is going to sound redundant, but they're taking apart old clocks. If you go to a garage sale and you see an old clock for $1, why not take it home and smash it, you know? Okay, so there's our base. Yes? Yes. Let's continue. So, I like this really fun metallic paint by a company called Creative Inspirations. And you probably, I don't know if you can see in the light there how much that shimmers. I love using this on just about everything, but it looks fantastic on chipboard. So, I'm just going to paint up my chipboard pieces. And what I also have is some of Tim Holtz's grunge board. And I have little arrows and like little hinges, and I'm going to paint those up too. And these are going to kind of be the points on our snowflakes, like that. Right? Good. Okay, so I've painted those up. And now I'm just going to unplug my glue gun before it starts a house fire. Okay, so I'm going to take my gear here, and I'm going to put some hot glue on it. Andrea knows how much I do not like working with hot glue, but in a project like this, it's sort of the thing that's going to dry the fastest. I'm gonna just glue it right into the middle of my 4 washers like that. And then on my original one, I was lucky enough to find a super cool bingo button thingamajigger that said I-25 on it. And I was like, 25, like Christmas, that's so awesome. And then it was red, and that's not awesome because it doesn't match. So then I painted it silver. However, I only had one that said 25. So when I'm remaking this, I'm using this super shimmery silver button. Okay, so we're going to put glue on the back of our button, and we're going to put the glue in the middle of our washer, like that. And then we have our little arrows to deal with. And this is why I don't like hot glue, because of all of this glue strings. Everything's like attached to everything else. Okay, so now we're going to place, I'm going to put a little bit more glue here. Okay, and now we're going to place our little arrows, and we're going to glue them to the underside, like so. So all I did was I put a little bit of glue on the end of the arrow, and then I put it on my snowflake, like that, and let the glue dry. And with the hot glue, the one plus the hot glue is how quickly it dries. So like that. And then one last one like that. And that's how the base of this was made. There's our snowflake. Now what I did extra on the original one is I put on some extra little washers onto 3 of the larger washers, and then I put rhinestones inside of them to add a little bit of extra bling. And then using another piece of wire, I just strung it up so that it could hang on a tree. And that is how we make the steampunk snowflake. Thank you guys for tuning in to see my project, and I'm going to hand it back over to Andrea.